Hi guys. All right, we are going to go over chapter 5 really quick. And chapter 5 is all about police subculture and what forms and shapes police subculture and exactly what is police subculture. So really quick, let's talk about what culture is first. Culture is the shared norms and values of a society. So like for example, it's Christmas season almost, and people start putting up Christmas trees. Or people might wear wedding rings. That would be considered like part of a culture. If somebody has values, so values are like things like honesty, loyalty, dependability, stuff like that. And then norms are rules and expectations about which forms of behavior are acceptable or not acceptable. Like, for example, is it acceptable to stand really close to somebody when you talk to them? Or does society kind of make you have like a personal space? Is it acceptable in America, in certain cultures, to make eye contact with people? In some cultures, it's acceptable to not make eye contact with some people. In fact, it's a sign of respect to not make eye contact with them. So that's what culture, values, and norms are. Now we go into subculture. So subculture is like a pattern within a culture that distinguishes a certain segment of society from the rest of the population. So when we talk about police subculture, it is the shared norms and values that police officers have. Police officers, as I'm sure you guys know, after just hanging out with myself, Mr. B, and Mr. I, that we tend to think a lot differently than the rest of people, like the rest of the public. We're a lot more suspicious. We're pretty cynical, especially myself and Mr. B. We're kind of say it like it is people. We don't beat around the bush. A lot of those are, not all of it, but a lot of those are behaviors that a lot of police officers share with each other. Like for example, like when we go out to eat, my husband and I, neither one of us like to have our back to the door, but I let him do it because he's the one that has the gun on him. So I let him be the one to react to it. So I take a back seat and I let him sit with him watching the door. But anyways, those are all types of police subculture. So there are, according to the book, there's 5 sources that shape police subculture. The first one is an organizational factor. That has to do with like the shifts and your days off. So a lot of times you'll find that police officers on the same shift tend to hang out with each other. And they tend to hang out with each other at work and not at work. And the reason for this is that, number one, it's really hard to find somebody that has Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off, or Monday, Tuesday off. So you tend to hang out with people that have those days off. A lot of people have, a 9 to 5, weekday job. The second one is the street environment. It's how you, the people that you're interacting in the street. How do they treat you? How do you treat them? A lot of it depends on how they treat you. A lot of how you treat them depends on that, on how they treat you. So their attitude tends to shape the type of call that you go on. Next is administration. A lot of people find this to be one of like the most factors that shape it the most. A lot of police officers get mad at administration. The longer you tend to work, the more like bitter you tend to get, and the more you see things wrong with administration. I'm not saying that was me or Mr. I or Mr. B, because Mr. B was administration, but it could be a source for tension for a lot of people. But the way that administration acts tends to define like how you act. Other criminal justice agencies. So like, for example, if I have to deal with the prosecutor, like let's say I went and bought drugs from somebody and I write a warrant for them. I write out the police report and then I write a warrant for them. And the prosecutor says, nope, you don't have enough probable cause. You need to go get more. You need to go do this. Your interactions with other criminal justice agencies help shape how you view police and like different subcultures. The media. So I can remember, like, I was on I think it was a homicide or armed robbery, I can't remember, and I wrote the report, and it was all over the news. And I remember reading what like Wood TV8 had written, and it was completely wrong, and they were just making up stuff just to put in there. And I just had to laugh, because I'm like, I am the one that like wrote the police report on this, and here they are just making stuff up, and people buy it. So don't ever face value believe what you see in the media. Look into it on for yourself. So anyways, those are the 5 sources that shape police subculture. And I'm moving right through this, because I know if I make this super long, you guys won't listen to it. All right. There are 15 components of a subculture. I know you're like, oh my God, 15, I'm gonna die if I have to sit here and listen to her talk about 15 different things. I'm gonna say like 1 sentence about each. So if you're really good at math, that's like 15 sentences. I hope I'm entertaining you guys. Okay, number 1, control. Police presence by itself, just police officers showing up, usually is enough to control the situation. But police officers are very, they like to be in control. My husband and I, we both love to be in control, and neither one of us ever want to bow down, which is why we're both stubborn asses. Territorially. Officers get very territorial about their city, and especially their like beat, if you have a specific beat, your neighborhood. So that's one other component that can shape a subculture. Use of force, or the possibility to use force, or the emotions that come with the use of force. I remember Officer Morningstar was kind of like, thought he was kind of a badass, and then after he got into that shooting, I think he'll be the first to tell you that he completely changed. So once you have to use of force, a lot of people's ideas of certain things change. All right, danger. The fact that police officers are constantly in danger and you can never let your guard down also shapes your subculture. Unpredictability. You don't know what the hell's going to happen next. You could be sitting in your car and somebody could come up and pull a gun on you. You have no idea. Suspicion. So officers, as you know, are super suspicious. I don't believe anything anybody tells me. I don't believe my own children. I don't believe my own husband. And it's really hard to, a lot of officers are like this. And after working, so many years, when you have people lying to you over and over again, that's what happens. You tend to not believe anybody. And I certainly don't believe you guys. I'm just teasing. All right, split second syndrome. That is where one minute you're doing nothing, and the next minute somebody's got a gun in your face. Or the next minute you have to go to armed robbery. It's dealing with that split second decision making that you have to do all the time. Moral superiority. This is my favorite one. So police officers tend to think that they are better than everybody else. They tend to think that they have like I'm going to be careful when I say this, higher moral like qualities than other people. They tend to just think it's hard to explain. So like, for example, my husband, he's really good at this. He tends to kind of like, I don't want to use the word mock or make fun of other people when he does the exact same thing, and I have to constantly remind him of it. But police officers tend to think that that they're a little bit better than everybody else, that they maybe follow the law a little bit better, that they know more about certain things. Not all cops, but definitely some of them. Common sense is another one. So police officers tend to pride themselves on their common sense. They tend to think that a lot of times other people don't have it. Some people have common sense, and some people have street smarts, or some people have book smarts. Masculine environment is the next one. It is definitely a masculine environment, and that helps shape the police subculture tremendously, especially when you start throwing females into that mix. Men tend to get either they tend to protect, or they tend to sometimes think that females don't do as good of a job. So yeah, definitely masculinity is in there. The us versus them, police officers being the us. Police officers tend to think everybody's against them. And even though that's not the case, it sure seems like it right now, especially with what's going on. But there are a lot of people that are with the police officers. When you become a cop, it definitely turns into us versus them, which helps shape the subculture, whether it's good or for bad. We're almost done. All right, secrecy. So when officers find something out, they have to be really secret about it. They can't go and they can't, blab to their spouse or to the news or whoever. Police officers, even when you get like in your own department, like our detectives, sometimes they would be like, well, we don't want to talk to you. We don't want to tell you that, but you can, if you go look for this person, but we don't want to tell you why to go look for this person, or another department. Police officers tend to be really secret. They think that they have like the some really good information they don't want to share. Isolation. So officers are kind of isolated together. They don't work with anybody but those same officers day in and day out. That's kind of another reason why they stick together. Bravery. Officers tend to think that maybe they're a little bit, not all of them again, it's not all officers, but they might tend to think that their job requires some bravery. And the art of deception. So police officers tend to get really creative in different ways that they can lie to people. How much time do I got? Okay, good. I'm almost done. This is the last slide, guys. So officers tend to get really good at lying to people. So like when I worked, let me back up. There's 3 different types of lies. You have an accepted lie, a tolerated lie, and a deviant lie. So when I worked undercover, and which happened all the time, somebody would come up to me, like I was going to buy dope from somebody. For example, I bought heroin from this girl all the time, and she would, every time, I bought from her like 10 times, and every single time she'd say to me, are you sure you're not a cop? You look like a cop. I bet you're a cop. How do I know you're not a cop? And she would just go on for 5 minutes about how she thought I was a cop. Well, obviously, when you're undercover, if you say you're a cop, then they're not going to sell you dope, right? So an accepted lie would be when I lied to her and said, hell no, I'm not a cop. Why would I be a cop? Are you a cop? I would always turn around on them. So that would be an accepted lie. It is used to further the police mission. If I told her I was a cop, I couldn't buy drugs from her, right? So I have to tell her a lie in order to get somewhere. So that's an accepted lie. A tolerated lie would be when you I tell a lie in order to defend your questionable discretionary decision. So for example, maybe you're patting somebody down and this person's up to no good. You have that sixth sense that we talked about. This person's up to no good, and you're patting them down. You feel something in their pocket, right? And you're like, God, I don't think it's a weapon, but I think it might be drugs. I kind of want to reach into their pocket, so I'm going to say, oh, what's this? It feels like you got like maybe a knife or something on you, and then you reach in their pocket and you pull out whatever it is. So you're lying to yourself and maybe even in the police report as to what you felt, and why you were able to go in their pockets and pull it out. So you're defending your questionable but you had a decision to make and you're defending it, right? So that's a tolerated lie. And a deviant lie is one that violates legal requirements and rules. So like, let's say, for example, there's a car with a known dope dealer in it and you really want to pull it over, right? But you can't find you have to have a reason to pull a car over by law. I can't just walk around and start pulling people over. So let's say you really want to pull this car over because, Johnny drug dealer is driving, right? And so you just make up a reason. You say that their brake lights are out, and you pull the car over and you end up finding dope on them, right? So that would be considered a deviant lie. You are actually violating rules and you're violating legal laws. You could actually be, you could be charged for something like that and you'd probably lose your job. So anyway, so those are 3 different types of lies, and that is all about police subculture and the different components of it and what makes it. So I hope you guys, oh, look at that, 15 minutes. I hope you guys have a great day.